It was really good. It was long. It's all right. It's all right. Regular meeting of the Fiscal and Pedestrian Advisory Committee on August 7th, 2024. It's 6 p.m. I'll just give it over to Joanna real quick for some introductions.
Thank you. We just wanted to let you know that we're also joined here tonight with Mayor Kate Collin and then also Councilmember Michael Lawrence Galati. And then we also have our Assistant City Manager John Stefanski here. Back to you, Phil.
Thank you for coming. With three or more members of our five-person committee present, we have a forum, so I'll call the roll. Vice Chair Kai here. Member Bergman is absent. Member Kalani here. Member Vicente is absent, and alternate Kuhn. You will be a voting member tonight if we vote on anything. And Chairman. I think that's it. Let's start with our first item on the agenda is to approve the minutes from our meeting that was on June 5th. Was our last meeting. So these things found in our agenda packet. Do any members have questions or need any clarifications? Nope. Do any members of the public have comments relating to the minutes from the last meeting? Hearing none, we'll have a or nay vote to approve the meeting minutes versus the ayes. Yeah. That one gets unanimous. The committee unanimously votes, how many of us are there? 4-0 to approve the June 5th, 2024 meeting minutes as submitted. Okay, next item 2 on the agenda. It is the first thing is the 4th Street Miracle Mile at 2nd Street and West Crescent Drive Improvements Project update. I'd like to invite someone to present to us. Whatever that is.
Great, that would be me.
Okay.
I'm actually presenting on behalf of Gray Melkart, which is the new project manager for this project. As you may or may not be aware, we've been to the path a few times in the past, and there was a bit of a hole in the middle as we were trying to figure out the grant paperwork, and also looking into some of the other design considerations. So just to give a real quick background, the purpose of this project is to really enhance like safety and pedestrian and like experience at the 2nd and 4th intersection, along with really improving our gateway to and from Centerville. As part of this project, we'll also be installing a traffic signal at the West Crescent and 4th intersection. These were some early concepts, just a few snapshots of the design iterations we've been through before. There's many more than this, but just want to highlight a couple. So this is our current 65 design plans. There's 3 considerations that we're still talking about, and that includes access to existing driveways on the north side of 4th Street to the existing businesses, and then looking into whether it makes sense to keep the 2nd Street westbound left turn pocket open or not, and then also looking at potentially relocating the north-south crosswalk across 4th and yeah. So we're going to jump into a little bit more detail here. This image here really highlights the existing driveway access that has always been there. And what we're proposing to do is to add back in that driveway access, but still maintain the 4th Street right turn into the signalized intersection. We'll be implementing some, speed calming measures, like speed humps and a raised crosswalk, and then also some striping and signage to help direct vehicles and pedestrians. The second consideration that we're looking at is whether it makes sense to keep the 2nd Street westbound left turn lane open or not. This really, the reason we're still looking into this is because it will help simplify the intersection and reduce conflict points between vehicles, pedestrians, and bicyclists. The third consideration is the crosswalk between or in the north-south direction. The main considerations is really like the signal timing and the operations, how that really impacts the phasing of the vehicles and pedestrians and bicyclist crossings. So quick highlight, we've been working on the OBAC grant funding paperwork with Caltrans. We recently completed the field review and also got MTC grants on the air quality review. We're still working on NEPA clearance and we're targeting to already funds this fiscal year. And you know, this is just kind of like us starting the public outreach again. There's some considerations. And we're going to throughout summer and fall, and we're really hoping to get feedback and then the documents by late this year so that we can advertise for construction next year. If you want more information, we're also providing updates on our website. Here's a QR code to that. We also have a email list that you can sign up for if you would like to get continued updates on the project.
Thank you for the presentation.
Yep, would it be appropriate to ask a couple of questions now? Should I wait until all of the projects then reel it back to?
I think we should. I think we'll do this one now. Yeah, so I'll invite technical questions or clarifications on this, but I think we're gonna have a lot of questions on a bunch of these things. So let's just stick with this one for now and get clarifications from the commissioners to begin. Technical questions and clarifications, we could talk about it. Go ahead.
Can you go back to slide 8? Please. So, can you just walk me through the westbound traffic coming down 4th and an arrow going to the right, goes over speed hump past existing driveway access. There's also 2 arrows on the left-hand lane, and you can't quite figure out what is going on with that. Like it says it feeding into.
Yeah.
Where is it going? And it looks like a walk. I can't make out the green and what that means to the traffic there.
Yeah, should I?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So if you're a vehicle traveling the westbound
It
direction.
means my phone is a little sorry.
You'll see signage and probably some markings that's going to direct you if you want to go into any of the driveways to the businesses on the roadside to take the right lane. If you want to continue down 4th Street onto Miracle Mile.
Oh, so it kind of wraps around and it goes back there.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. So you'll enter the signalized intersection and then you'll continue through the traffic.
Right.
And it'll be smoother.
Right.
The green is just kind of like a placeholder for what we think the plaza or like meeting areas gonna look like.
People might hang out.
Maybe.
And this also just kind of doesn't address the left-hand turn from westbound 2nd Street. This just kind of.
No,
Right. Second, you were thinking about eliminating that left-hand. Right.
Mhm.
Eastbound.
No, westbound, yes, westbound. These are all independent. Well,
So that's what I just wanted that to see. So are they mutually exclusive?
So the consideration 1, definitely something we need to implement because we're obligated to maintain access to existing businesses. Consideration 2 and 3 is it's going to be based on traffic data. So we're going to do a traffic study so we can make decisions based on data. Yeah.
There's something else on slide 11, if you don't mind. It's just a quick question. Public outreach. And on this URL, there'll be a schedule of those public outreach meetings. It says summer fall. I'm assuming since it's the end of summer, some of them have happened or are happening.
This is the first one. We're first one through for the summer at least.
It's summer.
Yeah, and then we've also contacted a couple other, I guess. Yeah, from our association.
We have West End Neighborhood Association.
Yes, thank you. And then also Chamber of Commerce to see if we can participate in some of their meetings and provide presentation as well. We shared that this was happening today. So we're gonna be reaching out to join some of their meetings and then also see if we might put together something else separate. And, gather more feedback.
I had one clarification question. There was a term near the beginning, 65% design. Is that a term of art? I'm just not familiar with what that means.
It's just kind of like how far we're complete with the design drawing, so it's like more than halfway. Yeah.
This is critical to the funding. We can't go past 65% until we get environmental clearance, so it's actually a grant funded, like. We can't say we're past that.
What is it a need for qualification rather than sequel?
That's also part of the grant requirement, so, yeah.
And then in terms of that percentage, that shall not be crossed, does that mean there could be substantial revisions, or is this a fairly, like set working plan within the parameters described here?
Well, there's going to be significant changes compared to what we had before. So we had 65% and we found out more information about maintaining that access after we found the emergency stuff. So now we are making significant changes to kind of doing the 65%.
But I think that in terms of scope and how the grant sees the design, I don't necessarily think they'll consider a significant change where we won't qualify for the funding anymore. But I think in terms of changes that we're making, I would say they are significant.
Okay. And then a third question is, the third aspect of this is the relocation potentially of the crosswalk. And I'd just be curious to know a little more about what goes into that process of deciding where it goes. And better contingent on what happens to that left turn lane from Fourth Street westbound.
Yeah, so there definitely is considerations for like turning, like all the movements within the intersection, kind of efficiency of the intersection as well, for like what makes sense for when cars go or when pedestrians do and bicyclists go. And then there could be there's a possibility for the left turn and the crosswalk to change, or it could be exclusive. So it really depends on what the data shows us. I think there's there's a lot of design opportunity to make different combinations of the considerations.
A lot of it's based on traffic. That's why I joined with they're doing the traffic analysis, because it's on like the left side, there's not really a lot of vehicle movements that can happen. So we're just trying to see what that impact would be to everyone coming from Westmore and what's there versus the other side. If there is no impact, it's like only traffic driven.
Got it. Okay.
No, that's not coming, but that's the next one. Sorry. If you go to the eliminating the left hand turn. A mountable median curve. I assume that means that's something that you can drive over or you're supposed to drive over or.
Right, so we still have to keep that movement, the left turn in from Second to Marquardt open for emergency access purposes. So that's why there's the curve median, so that emergency vehicles can see that.
That's a motorist. So motorists already are not supposed to go. There's no motorists should go through that area. I don't know.
Yeah, they don't let me.
They left out there from.
This movement exists.
Oh, got it. Sorry, I was going the other direction. Yeah, sorry. If that is nothing going in from either of the other streets, from Marquardt or from the Frontage Street, go over that. I'm supposed to go over that now. Correct.
So if you're on Marquardt,
Yes.
I think when you're making a right into Second, there's like this little, thank you.
And what about if you're driving towards downtown on whatever the frontage road is called at the
Oh,
bottom?
West End,
You're not allowed to go straight. There are signs saying you're not allowed to go straight.
yeah, it's the state, yeah.
Okay, in previous ones, you've talked about if you're on Second, a right turn on Fourth, this turn pocket, we at various times have talked about eliminating an extra turn and it's here, and I'm just curious how that decision came about.
Sorry, can you repeat?
This little turn pocket right here,
I see.
I think we had real, I don't remember that was as well. I remember a very low counts
Yes,
of people, making that movement.
that's correct. And that's also driven for emergency access. So we are going to be looking at technical you know, maybe close that up except for, emergency access.
Okay. And then for the slip lane, or which is their slip lane, the access to the buildings with these UPNs. What is to deter people from skipping the light and just driving through the area like they do now?
So that's gonna be a part of our design process, you know, a couple of things that we kind of thought about already is like the speed humps and like the race crossing, so. You know, they'll be slow downs, right? They have to, and they should be slowing down as they're going through there. And it's really enabling for patrons are trying to access the businesses. So there would also be a slowdown for that when people try to get in and out of the driveways. We're also gonna use a lot of signage and we're still brainstorming other, you know, potential measures we can use to deter them.
Most of those businesses right along there, people park on the street, Pine Farm, Ace Hardware.
That's correct. Like God, there's also.
Two-story architecture.
And the real question, I'm just curious with the speed hump and all these crosswalk. I have just, I've heard people ask for that a lot in this city, and it has always been, the answer has always been, we can't do that. And I'm curious why we can do that in this setting. Like, for example, someone wrote about Sun Valley always asks for these speed humps and crosswalks. That was the most recent one. I mean, are we not a speed humps or?
Right, there's no way to go, right? You don't have to do the speed humps. So way to discourage people from going right.
I think it's a little bit different because I think, what you're thinking is like more of like a through access and using speed humps to, slow vehicles down, but there's actually an alternative. But there's actually an alternative that would be faster if they were to go through onto Miracle Mile, and, we also have a fourth item today is also like traffic modeling, pilot study that we're doing with include the speed hump. So I think that's definitely gonna be implemented before this moves along too. So we'll be using that information as part of our decision making with the design.
Thanks. Those are my technical questions. Anybody else have a question? No.
Thank you. I just have a question about outreach. You mentioned a couple of groups. Did you also include, Block Pipe, San Michelle, and some of those outreach?
I don't think we've reached out to them yet, but they were on our list, so we can, yeah, we'll make sure.
I've seen those emails.
Yes, yes, thank you.
With no other technical questions, I'd like to invite public comments just on this agenda item here, just on this intersection. Go ahead, first hand.
On the intersection, but not exactly one of the three items. So if we're looking at slide 9, which we are. So if you're coming from San Anselmo and you're coming down, you're eastbound, and you want to turn on the left turn lane to go onto 4th Street. Is that clear? Yeah, so as a bicyclist, you're in that little island. And then you go like down the bricks and you go over the bricks. Where you were mentioning there's that right hand turn around that you were saying isn't used very much, that might get cut or blocked or something. I would love for there to be a little time, right? To be like a bicyclist could go in more, because if a car is coming around to the right and you're going like this, I'm going to correct, and people are turning left, it's a kind of a dodgy situation. And just like the pedestrians, if you gave like a staggered light, it would give you a chance. I could just go right into the left turn lane. I wouldn't have to be on the brick going up and down and trying to maneuver with cars turning around to the right there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, kind of like, what about the leading, yeah, it's just a little bit.
Yeah. Those staggered light strip heads to go out several seconds. Yeah, that would be great. Dedicated advanced light. Yes, that's what I mean.
Thank you. Susan.
Yeah, hi, my name is Jana, I'm also, by Snarefell, and, that northernmost lane, fourth. I can't tell, but it looks like it goes through. All the way, so people can just use that to merge into traffic, and I know that. Like we discourage people and we use signs, but like I always say, like traffic signage is an indicator for infrastructure, because we have speed limit signs all over the place and people don't listen to them. So as much as, like, if there's a light here, like in that center lane where it says if you're gonna go straight and you're gonna go west. Like, if there's a light or anything that slows you down, people are gonna choose to go right, and if you've ever ridden a bike next to people who drive over speed bumps. Or go to San Francisco when they have those cutouts and speed bumps, people fly over speed bumps, so. I don't really think that it's necessarily a deterrent if, for example, the left lane is backed up. I really think that northernmost lane should be closed to through traffic to merge into a major thoroughfare, because if you ride your bike to Pond Farm. Or if you're trying to get across. You're just like, maybe today is the day I get hit by a car, because people are incredibly impatient and they use 4th Street as a thoroughfare to get onto the Miracle Mile. And I see that there's an attempt to remedy that, but if that left lane gets backed up, people will take that right lane to try to use that as like a slip turn lane of sorts to merge onto traffic and get ahead of the people in that left lane. So I really think that northernmost lane that's going westbound should be closed. And that would really dramatically improve bicycling access, because let's face it, like the majority of people riding bikes over there are probably going to Pond Farm. And like, or they're turning left to get onto the bike lanes, and like it's really hard to make that turn on a bike. And if you try to signal left to get onto that middle island. Sometimes the drivers just don't care and they're gonna pass you as fast as they can while you're trying to merge to the left, even if you're signaling. So I think it's really dangerous to have that northernmost lane be a through lane. And if there's a lane on the left going, encouraging people to go west, then I don't really see the purpose of making that northernmost lane. I understand how access to the driveway. Street, but I don't. Maybe there could be a way to like access to the driveway, and then in between those two driveways, block access so people can get out. Around.
Thank you. Any other public comments? None? Okay, it's up to us. People think. Yeah, that probably. Then I'll ask a question. Yeah. So having that opportunity, you're talking about having that, would there be a stoplight preceding that the green area, or is it all the way up the new crosswalk that's going east west? Does it with the stoplight be preceding where the traffic would be going through across, because that will solve that problem? That's what I'm saying?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't, I mean, we're studying this with our traffic study.
Yeah.
We haven't. And this is as far as our sketch goes, which is really just very bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we can look at it and explore different things. I mean, we did have an earlier iteration, which is what I was trying to do, which had the driveway closed, but then we found out, although these people are using this other property to access, it's not owned by the same person, so we can't close those driveways, because we were originally closing it and having it in only,
Yeah.
but then we found out that we couldn't, so we had to reopen it, and so that's where we started looking at. Like, what do? We have to keep those driveways open. It's okay, they close one of those, I mean, it's easy to close off.
Just kind of following up on the last public comment. To me, that top north lane narrow. Inconvenient for cars, but still accessible for cars, so that they have to reduce their speed to 15 miles an hour. Maybe we put a couple of Parisian style, I'm watching too much Olympics. Cafes on the curb. People slow down. Like, yeah, exactly. That was.
Yeah, it's a concern because if I'm seeing the existing image, it looks like the design is overlaid. I'm not familiar enough. Is there a light currently for the folks turning right?
Yes, there is. There's a light that, yes, there is.
Okay.
I try to use every single day.
Okay, but they take that more than most.
Always go, it's right back where that first kind of yellow thing is, not right?
Got it.
So it's usually green.
Yeah.
It does go to red.
Okay, so I think what a challenge would be that folks who use that on a regular basis will have the expectation that it's a relatively unimpeded flow. And that northernmost lane is the through lane, and you can have signage to try and get them to change, but you'll probably get folks who don't like that being forced to change, especially if it's perceived that the new configuration slows things down, and if it leads to backups, all the worst people looking for the shortcut. So I definitely see the challenge because if you don't have a way back out, then, it has to be one way, obviously, for it to work at all. You can't have people go against that to get back out again. So, yeah, fortunately, I don't see at the moment a real good solution because it seems like even traffic calming, if it's backed up 6-8 cars, somebody will just say, screw it, I'm going around. Yeah, right.
I cross that because only times. I don't see back up 6-8 cars, but it's also not very. And
Yeah,
I do feel like I'm taking my life and then. When I cross the street, there are places.
So if that crosswalk back was timed up to the light, wouldn't that make total solve the? So any time the cars are stopped, pedestrians can move. There's no risk of interacting, regardless of whether or not people respect the signage or are encumbered by the obstructions.
It's also something to consider, like if the crosswalk did move to the right side here. And then bikes, I mean, minus the people going to Concord, which is apparently everybody, but. You have Road Street, if we go this way, not arguing on this side of the street, so we're not gonna. Be involved in this conflict, so just something that to be studied on.
Okay.
Which option are options.
I just sort of remember last year being new and seeing, I don't know, half a dozen different versions of the crosswalk alone. I have to say, this more aggressive, bolder one that's more direct. It's probably the best one I've seen out of all those variations we saw. So I know you're only at 65%. This could really change dramatically, especially after count, but something where. And this also might be a place where we go overboard with the signage, elevated lights, crosswalk. Also to reduce the nighttime accidents or lights.
Yeah, I gotta say, that does look heartening to have the crosswalk in that configuration shown on slide 10. Because having used that a few times, it's a scary place to cross. I don't know if it's better from a safety perspective to have the crosswalk on the opposite side of the eastbound traffic so that you're not quite so worried about folks coming in screeching halt after they've been, barreling down that hill, at 35, I think is the supposed limit, but obviously often a lot faster. So if there's a way to give people that extra cushion, that's nice. I don't know if the diagonal configuration is going to stick. That obviously lengthens the amount of time you're walking across the street vis-a-vis a right angle, but it may not be fittable. If you try to swing the base of the crosswalk further to the east, you might be creating other headaches. I can see why that would be a challenge.
Yeah, this is definitely a very complicated intersection, but definitely all the points I was brought up is very valid. The crosswalk itself, we also have like the red line, which is also something we're looking at, and maybe like, there's like a break in the crossing and then we try again further down to the east. The challenge with moving the entire crosswalk to the east and having it be straight is that there's a bunch of driveways on the south side. That doesn't allow for like a lane for pedestrians to really stop.
Is that crosswalk tied to the lights at all, or is it just kind of?
That's our plan.
Okay.
It will be part of the signalized intersection.
Yeah, like what you said, if it's an open wall, you're going down a second. gonna stop for anybody.
Right.
So regardless of if the crosswalk is there or not, for the slip lane that you have with the raised crosswalk, will that be signalized at all times? In other variations, will that be signalized?
I think that's still being studied, like, this is honestly just like a very rough sketch on top of our 65%.
Yeah.
So. But
You know, the main thing we're like, if I were to summarize what people don't like right now, is that slip lane is very, very dangerous. So to me, it's disappointing to see design that has a slip lane, and I know we're trying to slow things down. We've already tried to slow it down. And that's the whole problem when you come to this. And I think a lot of the resistance that I've heard is like just the fact that exists. And I understand that there's the challenges of getting into the business and out of that business. That was a very good explanation. And I've solved those. I probably need more time to look at it too, to have feedback, but you know, I think whatever solution needs to, will come here would have to be like over the top to discourage use of that slip lane and over the top to make sure like, even if there's 8 people, I want you still not to choose that 8 vehicles to go that way, because that is the problem that we're facing now. But I would say the #1 problem of that intersection is now. A couple of these other, like the #2 and #3, I think are pretty interesting. If you, we can start at the #3, just that last one here. If I'm thinking of a bike movement going westbound on 4th, so coming from up here, coming on 4th, and you know, wanting to continue from San Anselmo. The flaw that I see here is there's not a way for this bike to stop before they hit some button across the street on this crosswalk. And I think that would be necessary to make this work. So I guess my real question is like, do you think there's going to be space somehow for that to be there? And I think the same thing is needed, but to a lesser extent on the south side of this intersection. I say to the lesser extent because the legal movement would be a right turn off of my part. No, I run through this all the time. I see illegal movements here all the time. Because you know, it is supposed to be a right turn only that doesn't work. And so I think it's very low traffic on our part, so I'm less concerned. I think like those loading zones would be pretty important. Other than that, I kind of like, if it has to be like this, I like this idea because it just seems like it's more seamless movement. And nice to go through, although I do think the west on 4th is still, like, honestly, it's like the same time we're coming to right now. Because like, if you're a west on rider on 4th, when you get there, you have to get off the road as cars are flying down that slip lane. You have to go press that button. There's no place for you to stop. And then you cross the street. So to me, it's like kind of, this is better, but it's similar but better. So that was my thoughts on this one. If you go to #2, I think this is interesting to think about. In part, I just want to look at it. I think I need to study these even more. You know, our freeway that we built on the second is like well used and awesome. And I do think, you know, the danger and the concern really is that this left-hand movement is the danger for bikes. And this is what we've heard from previous public comments. We had one comment on how many cyclists there. They got rid of the right turn lane. That was a public comment that we had. I think the difficulty with this will be neighborhood opposition coming in. When I first moved to San Antonio, I lived on report. I made this up every day to get home. So there are other ways to get in, but they're less convenient. So I think the opposition will be there, but you don't have to weigh that position off of the safety. And I would say like this is the largest safety problem that we have this year. So I like this design without a left turn here. And I don't know when you make your decisions, you're putting traffic data, but you know, you're weighing traffic data versus safety, which is like we file on different lines, but I would argue that safety is more important than the traffic data points. And that's what I have to say about that. I think it's likely I will look at past designs and how they've changed to this design. Probably have more thoughts, but
one other concern on traffic movements and surveying traffic patterns is, you know, I guess it's hard to model dynamically what's likely to happen in response to change, like the elimination of a lane. Where will the folks go? And if you know, and then on the other hand, what, I mean, I'm sure this community grapples with a lot, when you get a better path across, how does that change, you know, pedestrian and bicyclist behavior when people feel, oh, I've got an actual shot at making it now, so, oh, use that. You know, so I don't know how we try to factor that into the design process of, you know, something slightly better, but essentially the same as before. You know, one get the same uptake as people seeing and perceiving a safer, you know, surrounding for them to use. Anyone else from us? Okay, I'd like to invite a motion to receive the bill. So the presentation on the Forest City Miracle Mile Second West Crescent Drive Improvements Project update. We have a motion, there's a second. We have a second, so we'll vote on the motion of receive and fill this informational update on the Fourth Street Miracle Mile Second West Crescent Drive Improvements Project update. With an annual vote. Yeah, all in favor? We unanimously vote to receive this presentation. Thank you. We'll move on to the next. We got a lot on this and it looks like we've got full room for public comment, so I'll make sure we leave a little time at the end for that too. So our second item is prefab and
Yeah, this is maybe been in the staff data report, but we wanted to just make sure it was on the agenda so people could see, so. Wait a second, we are planning to close Mahomes Path between Prince George Boulevard West and Lincoln Avenue temporarily. Temporarily, I would assume is less than a year. You know, but we just wanted to inform BPAC. And right now, we're going to be in signage and rerouting people down Second and Lincoln to get back to the path. And so we just wanted to receive comments on this. And that's the extent of the presentation.
thank you. Are there any technical questions or clarifications from commissioners? What's the reason for closure?
Want me to take that?
Sure.
John Stancy, Assistant City Manager. So the city is going to be proceeding with establishing a sanctioned camping area on this portion of the path. We're in the process of developing that, but we'll be going to the city council later this month on the 19th to kind of talk through the details of what that looks like. As a part of that plan, we're going to be banning camping on the southern portion of the Home Creek path, which will allow us to reopen and allow this route to resume for typical public use.
Is that only extends like outside of that process as well, or is?
No, it will just be for that southern portion of the path.
Okay.
Could you repeat that again? Camping's gonna be allowed in some places, not others.
Correct, so it's low out camping where we're going to close. Yeah, so between Francisco Boulevard and West Lincoln, that portion will be closed. We'll be fencing that off for a camping area, and then the southern portion will remain open.
And what's gonna happen to the, oh, you have
So just by way of clarification, are you saying the closure would be a 1 year temporary? Or is the idea between the red zone becomes a permanent? camping
It
area?
is not going to be a permanent.
So this is when the city sorts options. Okay, and do I understand? I know there was a lawsuit, here's the city of Grants past decision, and I'm sure that all factors into it. How much of this is contingent on what happens in the current district court action? To the extent one is allowed to comment on that. You want to take one second?
First of all, temporary is temporary, meaning that it's not a permanent situation, but I wouldn't say there's a timestamp of 12 months on it.
Okay.
So not to digress, I'm talking about homelessness, which we would be here till 9 o'clock, but we're always happy to answer questions, and we will be having a big presentation on August 19th. The reason that the grants pass doesn't provide additional relief or tools to the city of San Rafael is our current lawsuit is under a different part of the legislation, something called state created danger. Grants pass cleared or made more clear about cruel and unusual punishment. So because of that, you're reading the paper, oh, the San Rafael now has a new tool, but not, because there's two different types of legislation. It's super confusing. It doesn't seem like it's common sense, but welcome to the legal world of federal law.
Sure.
So Okay, no, I just had to practice saying that. I'm taking that for a long. I'm just gonna say it out loud.
It sounds good, it sounds good.
Yeah, and it's the truth, it's complex, so.
When I when I look at this, the main issues that I see is that small section on Second Street. Which we can solve that by extending a path all the way down. Am I correct? That's still fairly wide, it's maybe a 10-foot plus sidewalk there. And at the crossing of Lincoln and Second, so if you were going westbound on Second and gonna make a left turn onto Lincoln, are there pedestrian signals currently set up that will help avoid across that intersection? Like the walk signals and things already.
Yeah.
Great. Is it possible to get like, are there any pedestrian leading intervals on that could help someone make that movement? Is that a possibility, a temporary possibility to add to that light to help someone get across that?
We can explore that. I'm not sure if there is right now there is definitely a pedestrian signal there, I just don't know.
Great. I think that was a technical question. Any other technical questions? No. So with that, I'd like to invite public comments. Yes, Patrick.
Anyway, it's certainly a difficult situation and complex to say the least. There was something in front of the BPAC and it was a while ago, like, I'm trying to think it out, maybe like 5 years ago, 4 years ago, something like that. And there was a pathway there was a discussion with property owners on the other side of the. And I think it was in that section from Second to Lincoln.
I believe that was like in the back of Davidson School.
I don't know. So that is part of the Weimar property and it's gated. I mean, it's gated, so that's a current situation.
Right, and so what I was, just my suggestion, because it's really a shame to see that go, I understand the complexities. But it might be interesting to go back and look at what was in front of the BPAC. Because at that time, there was a discussion about that being open to the public. And just because.
Well, it was open, and when they were having to close it because there were issues that were arising constantly. It was open for years and years.
Okay, yeah, so.
I think that's an interesting comment there.
So it's like easy, maybe it's a way to. This opinion how long that thing goes, so anyway, that's one time, but I will dig that up, take a look at it, we'll see what they've been. The other one was, the other day, a few weeks ago, Smart held a groundbreaking for Roman Park, Santa Rosa. It was really interesting, like 200 people showed up for it, 6 months pathway, that it could be complete by December. And so now, when we, televised it around the next, after the local bicycles to it, which we took Spain, the rubber bikes, was crazy, but that's good when you go back. And what was interesting is going into the Joe Dodo Trail and looking around it there, because you can see that Santa Rosa also had some camping issues too up there. And some of the things that they did near the pathway were actually very creative to maintain a healthy environment once you handle that housing issues to make sure that you don't have a recession, so we're coming back and having a problem again. So I would, so point being is, I think that they have a rather interesting solution to it. To make it so the pathway is the only thing there. But the thing is there was so much nice space there, and it's very central to Santa Fe, where the homeless receive services and meals, and which they need. So it's really important for them to get those things. And when they look anyway, so some people look at suggesting that you go take a look at that as well. Practice.
Any other public comments? Let's go ahead and take some.
Yes, I was riding down Anderson's Day and then right across behind Albert Park, there's like a car parked in the lane and that was like, you're in the bike lane, and then he chased me down for about 10 minutes trying to scream at me. So that was pretty scary, and I think that this path connection here, like people use it because they want to A, get off Anderson onto like Francisco, or B, they need to get to Gersel Park. And I think that, like, given my experience today, if Anderson were made a lot safer. People wouldn't really necessarily be trying to connect these two, and then there's just no way to get to Bristol Park very safely from Anderson without like trying to cut through Albert Park, and you could remedy that by making like Albert two-way, and one way you could make room for that instead of having perpendicular or diagonal parking, you could have parallel parking, and then you have enough roadway, so like maybe a two-way bike lane. But basically like this connection, I'm looking at from Francisco to Lincoln. The Francisco to Anderson kind of is useless without this Lincoln to Francisco, so. I am hoping this like northern sort of like Second Street is still, can they try to do that? I went on the sidewalk with the ordinance, you know, so like if there's no suitable bike lane, the bike can like ride on the sidewalk as long as it yields pedestrians, and I tried that, and it was not, it didn't, I was trying to get from Anderson back to Lincoln. And I just wound up, I couldn't cross them, it was overrun, and someone walking across, and I was off my bike. People were moving there, I was trespassing, that neighborhood, so I tried to go on Second Street. And it was really difficult to make that turn from Second Street and then on Francisco and then make the sharp U-turn to be able to orient myself northbound. So how will we fix like going? Trying to get from like Lincoln Second and go and orient yourself north. There's like a lot of little concrete medians around Francisco. But I am grateful that, you know, there's an attempt here to get around, because I do love going across Anderson to Francisco, because it's the best way to get through Bristol Park and into downtown in a safe way. I try to avoid riding down 4th Street as much as possible. And being able to go through Bristol Park improves that significantly.
Thank you. Any other public comments in the room?
You know, can I say one thing? To the previous comment was, so you know, you're gonna go through your master pedestrian bicycle plan that come out. And WGTF has some recommendations in that area, as you point, there's room down Anderson to provide a class 4, continuous class 4. From where the pathway comes out of the tunnel, you know, from North South Greenway, all the way down to Albert Park. And we have some recommendations, because, you know, the crosswind trail that goes through the community center and Safeway. So we'll be making those recommendations, and I think we'll also take some pressure off that area.
Thank you. I noticed, I was told there was a hand raised, and we do greatly appreciate public feedback, but to give public comment, you actually have to be in person now. So we no longer can take any public comment virtually, so sorry about that. If you would like to, raise public comment, yeah, you could absolutely write in public comment, and please do to. It's in this presentation, which may be on your screen, but traffic eng at cityofsanford.org. And it moved to us. So sorry about that. Okay, so we'll close. Oh, another comment.
To respond to the comments about difficulty crossing, you know, the transit center. I don't know if you guys have been to Oakland Chinatown.
Sorry, could you speak up or stand up? I'm having a hard time hearing.
Sorry, responding to the crosswalk problems and, you know, confusion. We've never really installed a perpendicular scramble crosswalk near the transit center where, you know, all 4 crosswalks get the same signal. You know, and I think that would help. And also doing perpendicular zebra stripes. You know, so people can cross perpendicularly, you know, not have to go around 3 corners. They can just go from corner to corner instantly. And giving on literally townwide, just giving people an 8-second median pedestrian signal at every crosswalk, just to accommodate seniors, even wheelchairs. You know, I'm driving here, I almost saw someone get run over because an older lady couldn't run quick enough. It was like a game of Frogger, you know. And we need to put more of those no right on red signs, you know, that pop up. So pretty simple, maybe like 50 grand or. You know, the signaling can all be done by DPW, so.
Thank you. Okay, so I'd like to, what we're doing with public comments in the room here. Oh, I'll move to deliberate. Oh, I have one thing to say, Patrick, some his comment, and there is indeed a railroad path that's closed between Lincoln and Lindor. In the section that's gated, but the section that we need between Lincoln and Francisco, this is what it came with us for feedback. There's no path there currently, that's behind that's the parking garage right there. And so it is, they have like a, you know, it's like a construction kind of space kind of thing out there. I don't know if it's possible to ask them, you know, as a good neighbor, are you willing to people across the here? Could be a potential idea.
Good point.
That is my only.
It might give an easement for two cities.
I mean, that's what before feedback initially is that we was.
Because we're becoming private.
Okay, so with that, I'd like to invite you to receive and file a presentation on regional free cash temporary.
One on the floor already.
I said, there we go. Let's do it. All right, let's vote on the motion to approve, to receive and file the temporary reduction. Okay, let's have a A or B for the committee unanimously votes 5-0 to receive and file this presentation. So just on the agenda is we're still pretty good on time, but I think we probably need like 20 minutes for public comment at the end, just engaging people in here, so we'll try to skip to that. So the next item is the Safe Streets for All grant application.
Sorry. Yeah, okay, so I just we want to go quickly go over the State Streets for All grant that we're, the city decided to apply for. So we're doing a joint application with the county, and it's really focused on Vision Zero. And so it's gonna expand on the local road safety plan that the city council adopted in April. And there's gonna be lots of stakeholder workshops, outreach, education, that's gonna help us kind of create this project prioritization framework. So it helps us know what we're gonna do for our CIP and our annual programs, as well as create different funding strategies. In addition, there's just some of the other things that are gonna be, that we've brainstormed with the county and our consultants doing application on things that we want to come out of this. It's a planning application, so which we've heard is have been very successful with the Safe Streets for All. And so that includes different countermeasures, kind of an action plan matrix, a quick response policy. So, you know, something we happen to have a KSI or some sort of injury that happens. We have a way to respond. Like, what do we do right now? And we have a policy in place that, you know, regardless of what our liability is, this is what we're going to do. We're all going to do all hands on deck and figure out a way to solve the problem. Also, we're doing traffic calming program. The county has a traffic calming program, but the city's kind of looking for more like traffic calming toolbox or, you know, different policies. Speed management strategy, we're doing our engineering traffic studies right now too, and how does that get incorporated? Do different design standard reviews. That's what can help with development. So we have standards in place that we can give developers and say, this is what you're supposed to do in front of your site. And we're also gonna kind of figure out how we're gonna report annually on the local safety plan we've done to improve and hopefully, you know, reduce the number of collisions in the center phone.
Report to the city or report to the state? Okay.
City and county, it's a pretty good application, but yeah, how each of us is gonna report out. So the county's gonna report to the board of supervisors and we report to the city council and likely this committee.
Are all the cities participating or just us?
So our application is only with the county, but we're hoping that we're afraid we could come out with other agencies in North County and outside of North County are gonna use what we come up with. We're going to that are partnering together on this application. But some of the outreach that we're gonna be doing is countywide, since the county is our partner. So any of the other agencies are welcome to join. And then with this plan application, we're allowed to do a demonstration project, and so we want to find a location that's both in the city and county. It's identified in the local safety plan for the county. It's, there's two different projects that are listed in the Center Valley, citywide plan that are in this zone. And just based on, the different kind of quick build type projects we could do to really improve biking and pedestrian safety in this area, we thought this would be a great location to do a joint project. There's not that many joint streets between the city and county, and so that's why we came up with North St. Peter Road from West Virginia to Oxford Drive. And so there's been some before and after studies. There's some existing plans that have already been done and studied in this area that will use that existing data to try to come up with some quick build options. It's not a full, expensive demonstration project, but it's quick build and hopefully we can do, tie in some other improvements with it. But that's what our plan is currently for our draft for application. So
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any technical questions or clarifications?
Remember that very well today. That I skipped going under 101. And so the more you can improve, the better.
You used the term KSI, what's that?
it's killed or severe injury.
Oh, okay. See what you.
Yeah.
You referred to a traffic calming toolbox, and maybe we'll get to that at a later agenda item, but I am curious to learn what kind of items might be in this toolbox.
Well, part of this plan applications come on with what those are, but yet you will see in agenda item 2D. We started exploring some already in East Santa Fe. And so just trying to come up with a policy. I know there was questions before about speed humps and philosophies there. We're just trying to explore any way we can to follow Mission Zero, and there's a different mindset now of the city council, which is fantastic, and we're going to some tests first.
Okay, and then one more question is, you indicated that so far it's just San Antonio County. Is there any indication of other cities or, local government who may be interested in joining on if they see a proof of concept here? Too soon to say?
Too soon to say. We haven't explored too much. I don't know, too many cooks in the kitchen, but.
Everyone?
No, no. So the local, the county and the city have. Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I think Sarah Paul's the only one.
Yeah, and so not everybody has. I just have a feeling most of the workers I want to just use stuff that we create. And so, but we'll invite them and probably present to the other directors and stuff to talk to them. But right now, it's just the two of us, but everything could be open to anybody that county to attend.
Thank you.
Any other questions from us? Public comment on this?
I'd like to comment, Chair, when you have a moment.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. This is fantastic. So thank you, DPW, for your willingness to do this, both the demonstration part. But the ultimate goal here is to reduce KSIs. And in order to do that, we need to have the planning documents, we need to do all the things. And so this is a really critical step. And I heard loud and clear, we've heard loud and clear from DPAC. Obviously, the importance of it, other than the obvious. So I'm thrilled. And this section, wow, I can't wait to see what's decided. We all know this section really, really well. So, but I just really want to give accolades to DPW on this. Really critical.
All right, Patrick.
Thank you. I'd like to echo Ben says, really compliment the city and the county for doing this program. So it's great to be putting that forward stuff. So doing DPTM, we study international best practices. We've been doing international study trips, primarily in the Netherlands and Germany and Northern Europe. And I happened to get back from one just 2.5 weeks ago. And interestingly enough, one of the things that we really were focusing on were the traffic calming type issues. And so I would suggest 3 for the toolbox, and we can talk, we have time to kind of advance the discussion, but one of the things I really like, I've learned for years over the Netherlands they have is what's called speed table, and you kind of are talking a little bit like speed bumps, it's something like that, but what they do is they take an entire intersection And they raise it up, it's about 6 inches or so. And originally, they've gone up about 12, and we thought it was too high because the fire departments were kind of like let's see, the emergency. So they took it down, but they're really nicely done. What they do is it really slows the cars down, going through the interchanges where most of the accidents are happening for the intersections. So anyway, speed tables and intersections, it'd be really nice to see something like that done someplace. It would make sense, because I think that's something that can be followed all around the county, so it's a really good one. Second one is, when there's a pathway, pedestrian or bicycles or both going across a road, like in a neighborhood called Bristol Park, say. Instead of the pathway going down into the street and the bikes going into the roadway, what they do in the neighborhoods in the Netherlands is they keep the pathway or the sidewalk, and it's a pathway and a sidewalk, and the car comes up again, you can have a speed table movement, yielding, having to yield, and now they're driving on a pathway, not the road, they're driving on a pathway and a sidewalk. And what it is it's like sort of physical cues of what really produce results. And so if you look at internationally, who has the lowest amount of accidents, it's the Dutch. And we use those two tricks a lot to get the cars to slow down and everybody will be looking at each other. And the other one, last but not least, it is a really simple one, and it's like it reduces accidents for cyclists in particular. Where there's a pathway that it's the sidewalk. Wonderful job is that down on Second Street. Instead of having the 4 inches or something straight at a 90-degree angle, what they do is they put it at like a 45-degree angle. And so what that does is when the bike's going down, the kids hit over with their son or daughter, and you're kind of looking up, and you hit the side of that thing, you go down quick, right? It's like you're hitting the 90-degree angle. And just by putting that down, I've got some great pictures of it. But again, something really subtle that produces the safest place in the world to ride your bike with cars. And so anyway, those are 3 things I suggest you look at.
Thank you, Patrick. I happen to be looking over Joanne's shoulder. I think you'll like the next presentation too. Yes, go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah, my name's Henry, by the way. I'm also a new member of Cormadero's feedback, so I figured I'd join and contribute. Anyways, what this fellow was mentioning, they're officially called raised crosswalks. But there aren't any in Marin other than the one in front of the Terralinda Safeway. That's the only raised crosswalk in the county. They have 6 inches before you get in to that strip mall. That's where they're going to put those 2 roundabouts. Anyways, Civic Center Drive needs a roundabout. It's too wide and too straight, You should just have objective standards of lane widths, no wider than 11 feet, and then just put bollards every 10 feet, some K71s or K91s, for the next mile. And, crossing, I've seen people, whenever I see people almost get run over, I stop my car, put on hazards, take photos of them trying to cross these deadly intersections. Can't do it all the time. But even before there's those bus pads, people are trying to cross across the street to get to those bus pads, and those bus pads are the most hostile thing. There's not a tree in sight, I'd also encourage you guys to plant trees every 50 feet, at some valley oaks, and do permeable pavers around it so that they don't lift up the concrete. And just have a standard, Santa Fe's tree cover is the lowest of any town in Marin, and its tree cover is 9%. Fairfax and Mill Valley have a tree cover of over 40%. So things to consider, but you guys need to be planting a few hundred trees every year just to, July was the hottest year on record. We gotta do something, we need to cool the streets.
Thank you, Henry. Any other public comment? Susan.
Hello, good tree comment, because I'm an arborist. And I work for the city of San Francisco, and our canopy is 13%, so we're also struggling. And I applaud this stretch here being in some sort of improvement, acknowledging the fact that there's a lot of curbside, like residential parking there, and that one of our Well, like saying our fellow member was riding his bike and. He kind of got run off. And hit the back of a parked car and he's fine, it's David Seltzer. He's fine and his bike. Kind of okay, but we're lucky he's okay, but that is something like it's tricky to get cars to slow down when it's actually not that wide. There's people don't want to like hit the median there, so I'm recognizing that you guys have a really big challenge dealing with North San Pedro, but it's very desperately needed and we support this effort.
Thank you. I've done so.
Yeah.
I don't have any feedback necessarily. There's already been a lot of really great comments from others, but I just wanted to say on behalf of MCDC, we're really happy to see this. So thank you to everyone who's involved. It's always really exciting when there's a new opportunity to support the provides pedestrian. So thank you again. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this develops.
Thank you.
Last one. Bernard.
Oh, yeah.
Just a little more details about like the actual grant. You know, is it from the county itself or is it a federal grant?
No, it's a federal grant. It's part of the, it's the answer.
Yeah, don't worry.
I don't know the comment, but yeah, so the federal grant is part of the infrastructure bill that was passed 4 years ago, and so they do it every year. So yeah, we federally funded. But the city's actually leading, the county is our partner.
All right, and are you guys looking for other cities to join you, or are you guys in on this?
Just right now, just us.
I come from Nevada, so I'm just jealous.
I think that's.
Thank you. Oh, great. Thank you very much.
I want to say two things. Applaud this effort. I think it's great. And I like the comment on planting trees. I know that goes into budgets and but John is correct. We are in a climate crisis. Climate scientists don't use climate change. They use the word climate crisis and climate disruption. So let's plan with this. I'm going to work on a GoFundMe campaign.
There's lots of spelling tree advocates in the city. In comments,
Yeah, the last question I prompted me to think, so what is the scope of, like, in terms of budget and what's the time frame for some of these projects and the time frame for, if we feel these are very free, reporting, recommending on ways to roll it out, on a broader scale.
Talking about trees.
Trees too.
So for the timeline for this grant, we're hoping, that we find out we're successful, so it'd be 2025 start. With the demonstration product being completed in 2028. So it's 2028. Yeah, because there's all of this other stuff, which includes a ton of outreach. And all of the stuff goes first. We create all of our toolboxes, we communicate, educate, and then we do everything we learned to finally do a project.
Then it would be a quick build.
Yeah.
With the grant, if awarded, be sufficient to fund it throughout the entire period.
Yes.
Steve Prosper.
Yeah, it'll over offhand. I mean, the city, I know that both the city and county are each contributing $400,000. So that would be 200,000 in staff time. It's money that we're gonna put towards it. I can't remember what the percentage match is, but it's a few $1 million. I'd have to look it up and I can get back to you.
Okay. Well, on the whole, it's very hard and good side. So nice to see this proactive and systematic approach to it. Figure, the more details we get, the better we can see if they're going to find it from the, completion of it. Nice to maintain it. It sounds like that's the first segment, but I like that mindset. That instead of just one thing, doing many and looking at what seems to be working best. Thank you. Yeah.
just echoing that results-based approach, also super excited that that overpass section is gonna like change hopefully. That's one of my least color. I just ran there on Sunday to go to the farmers market, and there's no good way to get through there unless you're just jumping across traffic and you just hope for the best timing. So I think that's one of them.
And
I would say I'm happy for, if it's coming, we are lucky. And we can win even, and it's step by step, and we continue going. And we hope, nothing's coming.
Go ahead.
Could I make a comment regarding the trees, because you do have a lot of trees advocates. We have the Climate Action Plan Forum coming up on August 22nd from 4 to 5:30 here. And we are that's the place that we are going to be talking about all the action plans that we have around the environment. So
Great,
thank you.
I looked it up, it's 2.9 million. So, what's the total grant budget?
Yeah, my comments, I think echoing everyone, I was thrilled to see this project when it came through. You know, there are a couple of highlights, just, you know, I like always coming back to our master plan and making sure we're following this. These are the highest two projects in this area. I think the 7 and 8 for the city overall. This is the safe routes to school just past this. There is a school along the way. That's all very important. I think it's a great project to go through. We were talking about KSIs also, you know, we unfortunately remember there is currently a ghost spike just a couple, 2 or 3 years ago at this project at Maryville Road. And Los Angeles, I think this is a very worthy effort and a pretty awesome project. I was especially thrilled that our projects that we have in master plan are actually pretty short segments on either side of the freeway, and it's like way longer. And so I very much like that too. I mean, for kids, it's very important recreationally. This is a road too. So I think that's great. I thought it was so great that I wrote a letter in support of this. Again, this means everyone in support. I think when we receive and final this, I think I'm hoping we could also approve the letter coming on behalf of BPAC that we support this grant application. So I will, I guess I will make a motion to receive, we're going to receive and file and write a letter on behalf of BPAC in support of this project. So someone makes a motion. So moved.
Second.
Great. So we'll vote on motion to write this letter for the presentation. Was Aaron vote all in favor? Any unanimously votes 5-0 to receive this presentation and to send a letter in support of this grant application on behalf of the BPAC. Okay, we have about 45 minutes left. I want to make sure we have room, we have time for public comments, and we have one more agenda item for the Spinnaker Point traffic calming pilot active. We can get this done.
So, definitely income report too.
Okay, well, all right, we'll keep going through. Thank you. Go for it.
Try to be brief. So we are planning to start our Spinnaker Point traffic calming pilot project this month. With this, we're gonna, you know, pilot 3 measures. One is the speed hump, traffic circle, and then curb and median extensions. All, you know, targeted towards slowing traffic. The traffic circle also helps direct cars in like a circular motion through the intersection, which helps reduce collisions. And the curb extensions and median extensions, they help reduce the size of the intersection by extending the sidewalks or medians, also helping slow traffic and make crossing safer and more comfortable for pedestrians. We're in the process of installing these temporary improvements. We're planning to use low cost and durable materials. You know, this is going to be going on for about 6 months, and we hope to collect feedback along the way. We have an online input form, which you can access using the QR code at the top of this page or on the URL that's on the bottom of the page. Once we collect the information, we plan to come back to BPAC again in 6 months, probably either February or April timeframe. or to share our results.
Thank you. Any technical questions or clarifications? Good. So is it just one in each is going to be installed?
Correct.
How were the particular traffic calming measures selected? Did it just seem like that was the most appropriate thing at the given spot?
Yes. I think these have been effective in other locations and through discussions with our traffic consultant. These were kind of like the top recommended measures to kind of test out first. And we're really excited to kind of see what results we get from it.
Is there a reason the Spinnaker Point area in particular was chosen for the pilot? Because I think of it as a little less busy than the rest of the canal.
Yeah, I mean, we get a lot of comments about speeding on Spinnaker. And, you know, we had received a lot of comments in the past on Catalina also, and so on Catalina, we added a stop sign and then we stopped getting comments. So we still get a lot of, and when we're talking about Catalina, everyone's been talking about, well, what about Spinnaker? And so we've been just hearing that there's a lot of. We get a lot of comments, so we decided to try it here, then hopefully, you know, these are successful, some of these are successful and we can implement them in other spots in East Center Valley and of the city.
I think, can I just, to that also, can I just add, a lot of people are looking for parking. So that's why we are going super fast, trying to find, so. Yes. And hopefully we'll be a good pilot for other.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And sorry, another one is, was there like a pre-study done and then you can compare it to post so that we have sort of a baseline to see what effects in terms of speed, you know, people doing crazy U-turns as often happens when people put the parking like.
Well, typically our speed surveys are not done on residential roads. We have not done a speed survey on this road. We are looking at doing a speed survey in other areas of East Center Valley. And even though they're residential streets, but in this location, we have not done speed surveys. It's going to be probably more on the field because there wasn't a traffic study done. This is more of a community requested, you know, pilot.
Okay, yeah, thanks. That kind of gets to the heart of the questions is how do we measure the efficacy of these measures? You know, it's sort of based on how residents perceive.
Mostly, yeah. I mean, as you guys, as this BPAC recalls, in the last 6 months ago, or eight, I guess at this point, 9 months ago, we did a pilot study in the Terra Linda neighborhood where we closed the slip lane. And we based that on, I mean, we did no traffic studies, but we just did it based on community feedback. We got a ton of feedback in the beginning, we didn't hear anything, everybody was driving fine. And so we decided to keep it closed. So kind of seeing how people react to it. There's other areas, both in Santa Fe and other places in Santa Fe that we would highly recommend traffic studies, and we're doing traffic studies in other locations before we implement anything. But this is more of a feeling, and also, you know, one of the, I guess, for instance, with speed humps, for instance, you know, that's one of the things that we get a lot of feedback from emergency vehicles about how they don't like driving over those. So this is kind of like a pilot on, like, you know, how are these shaped? Are you guys okay driving over these and kind of feeling about? So definitely fire and police are gonna weigh in on this beyond just the community on their experiences.
Sure, so we get emails, we get emails almost every week on this. So we talk about Katie and I, and we do appreciate data 100%. And there are times when the community ongoing request over and over and over. So it seems softer to say, oh, there's no hard data on it, but we actually value what our community says when they're moving around their streets. So there is an online input form, but I really want to be clear. I mean, DPW, we had a lot of conversations about this, but all the reasons that you're really going after, that's what I wanted to jump in. That we've met with neighborhood leaders. The three of us have met with neighborhood leaders over a year and a half. And the one thing that came up over and over and over is this. And we believe that one way that we will build trust for those bigger projects, I don't know what that might be, is actually implementing in smaller projects. So this is one of those smaller projects, and we are hoping, as April so beautifully said, we're going to have some wins here that we can apply throughout the city because keep the drive, keep it going fast, I'll just say that. And so, but anyway, I just wanted to add a little bit more. Everyone's being very tactful, but I know a lot of the council members, guys, and myself, as well as Assistant City Manager John Skansky, we push very, very hard on this.
Thank you for.
Yeah.
Any questions? Yeah.
Sure, yeah, just on that, I think the feedback is a measurable thing, so, but I agree, as much data as that could be driven, but is there a reason if a stop sign was effective in the Catalina, it wouldn't be effective here?
Good question. So there actually is a stop sign at Catalina now, and people, from what we've heard, still could fly through it.
Oh,
That's,
okay.
so that's why we're suggesting doing it, this traffic circle
Mhm.
here, so people actually have to go around something and just, don't stop and slow down.
Okay, so
If they don't stop, they'll slow down.
there's community feedback of
Yeah.
issues with speaking at
Yeah.
Catalina.
Yeah, so this is when we're trying to go.
Understood. Good, thank you.
As you can see in the top image, you can actually see there are stop signs only there. And with what our pilot program, we're actually gonna be kind of like narrowing the intersection too with the extensions and the traffic circle.
I like that you're splitting them up and so you can maybe as much as you can find strategic areas, each one impacts the situation.
Sorry, just two more questions I said. One is, I know this route doesn't have, a bus line along it, Spinnaker Point, but Kerner and Canal View. Is that gonna be, a consideration, like, I've heard that emergency responders don't run some of these measures. Will that be a hurdle to address with transit agency?
I think that's also why we're planning to do a pilot too, because we do get feedback on
Yeah.
challenges with like driving over the speed humps for emergency vehicles and transit.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be something we're gonna coordinate with them on. I think with transit, even if they don't have a bus line through there, they do have test buses that we can just have them test out by driving.
Okay, and then the last question is the location of the speed humps is approximately where the trail terminates that runs behind Baguio Vista. I'm wondering if any consideration is given towards like a crosswalk there, because there's no way to get across what, either on the trail. Other than running across the street right where people are, being throttled. So that could be something, I don't know if it's too late to consider. Throwing it in the mix, but it's worth thinking about. Cool. Yeah, those tennis courts. Yeah, exactly, with the tennis court, because the thing is, the sidewalks on the south side of Spinnaker Point are very narrow. And so it's really a horrible situation. You want to get across the street to Pickleby Park and look, nicer pavements over there, but there's no safe way to do it, right? That's why.
I think the one thing we struggle with the most in this neighborhood, not the most, there's a lot of things, but is parking. So if we had a crosswalk in there, I know that when we did the diagonal parking project along there. We added every spot we could possibly do, and we did think about a crosswalk at that point, but I think we got 3 parking stalls. And we chose not to put in one there because you could go and you have to walk a little bit to get to each side to get to a crosswalk. We opted to not to see kind of. Maybe in these further studies, there's a whole, there's an East San Rafael parking task force meeting. There's other things going on. But yeah, the speed humps do appear to be pretty close to that path.
There's an interesting traffic calm that I saw in this study that is kind of a little bit silly. It's specific speed limits where instead of like having like rounds 20, 25 miles per hour, you set it at like 23, and it causes the driver to give extra attention to it. There's no evidence that it does. That's something to look into. It's silly, but it's lovely and it's simplicity. Sounds like I'm going to that's it.
Questions on this one?
What's not the way we run?
I don't have any type of question on this, so
Because those are the other.
Yeah. we get public comment on this. Agenda item. I just have a question. Yep. What's your guys' budget for this?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. We do a lot of this in-house, so it just gets absorbed with the sign shop. The only thing that's gonna cost us, I guess. Signs still cost money and time, but the speed tables are actually, we have to contemplate this out separately. So we're getting close right now on how much that's gonna cost. But we have an annual program this year that Joanne spoke about the last PPAC, which is for,
Road safety.
yeah, road safety implementation program. And so we have a couple $100,000 for the year to do small projects and do different things like that. So this will get absorbed in that budget.
And you're saying you actually own a lot of material already, there's a few things you have to.
Yeah, most of the stuff we already own, it's just the rubber speed humps our team. And it's rubber because it's pilots, we don't want to make it permanent.
Yeah, I get that, absolutely.
But everything else we own or we'll make the signs there.
Okay, make your own sign. Okay, and then, so you say it's like $200,000 in ballpark for.
For this,
No, the year budget.
Right.
Kind of stuff.
it might be higher than that.
I think it's higher, I think it might be somewhere around like four.
Yeah.
400, and it's for a variety of things. There's like the traffic calming, but then there's also other smaller projects that we also try to do with it as well.
Like quick build stuff mostly.
Yeah.
I
I was just looking on, Google Maps with the street view, because I haven't been in this neighborhood in a while. I used to deliver for UPS in this neighborhood. But there's no crosswalks actually in between, and I'm noticing all these paths, the bay path behind it. There's like no zebra crosswalks anywhere. So you can just buy, get DOT by paint, start painting them, right?
Sounds so easy.
Might be here.
Yeah, there are some of those. I mean, there's part of the speed hump, there's the crosswalk.
But yeah, I always think you need more.
Okay, so, we're now on each one of us to deliberate this project. What do you think? We have a comment to go for it. Yeah, I think this is fantastic. This is definitely something I'm neighbors will be glad to hear about. We're a little bit further to the west of this, but they'll be glad to hear that this is being tested as a proof of concept and because obviously as people come up Kerner and go left or come up Canal, there's that open stretch between Sonoma and Kerner that people really fly through as well. And you may not get quite as the volume of calls for various reasons that you would from the folks in Spinnaker Point, but it's every bit as much a concern. So I'm hoping to see, I'm glad that I think the 6-month pilot seems like a good test period. I'm sure everyone will be very eager to hear the findings and, whether this can be rolled out elsewhere. The points about zebra striping is good too, especially that intersection of Kerner and Canal and Spinnaker Point, because it's got this sort of wonky angle to it. So, buses making turns, kids crossing for, the park right there in the corner. There's just a huge amount of foot traffic and very often moments of confusion about who's going where and why. So higher visibility in that zone seems like a no-brainer too. So, there's a lot of folks a lot of kids who walk their parents along Canal to get to Bayou Vista to go to school. So, there's morning especially is like critical time. So the more we can do to look for good solutions for calming, the better. I think it's just fabulous.
Yeah, I love that, but I'm not sure being employed. I think it creates such a sense of community, which is weird, but every time I'm in a place with a roundabout, I feel like you're just kind of slowed and more present in that space. So that's one of the three. It's the most aesthetically building for it all, but yeah. Also, this is all kind of like behavioral psychology of trying to interact with the driver. So I'd encourage exploring all potential tools within that and employing that specific practice while thinking through it.
We say we have to do that because we see when things are wrong. And like up, and stuff.
And because it's a big space there and they come and make donuts every time. And that's why we concern about the kids too, because that's what you say, everybody cross the easy way is going to the train. And they don't care who is walking around when they make the donuts. Most of the afternoons. That's really concern around. I'm happy.
This is another one that I love. Since I've been on the committee, I've seen a call for projects like that. And like with this combined with the standing CIP budget, I think that's like very much responding to the concerns that I've heard for all the years that I've been on. So like this is as awesome as it gets. I suspect you will get lots of other neighborhoods, interested sort of in this toolkit and things they can do in different locations for that. Last time, I think I mentioned that the city of Petaluma has done a very similar thing to what we're doing successfully with their Safe Streets nomination program. By all accounts that I've heard, that's been a great success and their website for that. And I suspect we will see the same thing here. My only little concern, is just the idea with the pilot project. When I saw when we closed the split lane in Carolina, that there was a huge amount of worry. It closed and everyone loved it. And we called it a 6 month or however long the pilot project was. There was a huge amount of worry that was going to go away and open up again. And so I think it's important to be clear, like, if everyone's in agreement, this is going well, like this stuff's going to stick around / expand more. And I do think, I know I got the thing there did too, because actually was on a lot of these a ton of people worried, like saying it was going well, and a ton of people worried it was going to go away. And so it sounds like everybody wants this, and it's unlikely to have opposition. So I think the message, I mean, we'll see. That's all I have to say. So with that, I guess I'd like to invite motion to receive this presentation on the Spinnaker Point traffic calming. Move. And we're doing the second. Right. So we'll vote for motion to receive and file this informational update. All in favor? Unanimously votes 5-0 to receive and file the presentation on the Spinnaker Point traffic calming pilot. Next up is the staff liaison report. Looks like we have one.
Yeah, both Joanne and I will go through a few slides, that liaison report. So there's another grant update, so I didn't have it on that one. But we are also applying for a highway safety improvement program grant, HSIP. So as part of the local road safety plan, we have to adopt it in order to apply for both the Safe Streets for All and the HSIP grant. So this application is also due soon. And this grant is very focused on data. Like, it's not necessarily community outreach, it's all data. Like, we talked about KSI. So what are the KSIs? What are other collisions that happen in this area? And so we can avenue through downtown and identify network with safety plan. And so we're going to apply for a grant to look at intersections between Second and Mission. Looking at right now today there is a second lane that is parking sometimes, and it's also through traffic other times when people go at 6 p.m. And so, one of the things we look at with this project is actually removing that and adding dedicated left turn pockets with protected signal phases. And that's one of the tools you can use to help with pedestrian and bike safety, because there's no longer going to be people rushing to make a left turn between the cars. They actually have to stop, and everyone has to be stopped when they make the left turn. And we're hoping that will definitely reduce those pedestrian and bike collisions. Also leading pedestrian intervals, new traffic signals all through here with push buttons and countdown timers. Yeah, the accessibility upgrade that we did with the 3rd Street intersection already, but we did not put in basic stuff with that one. Loss of parking, we're still looking into it, like how much would that be? Maybe there's certain things we can do to keep the most amount of parking along this area. But there also is a. AB 413 is one of the bills that was passed that you have now to remove parking within 20 feet of the crosswalk, so. We already need to do that, so that's gonna cut down to the parking for downtown, but. Just wanted to, it's more informational, that we are applying for this grant. Another thing that, we want to bring up, this is, one of our current projects right now, this is our pavement management program, streets. And so I know last year we brought our, pavement management program exhibit to BPAC, and we ended up adding a bunch of protected bike lanes on Las Colinas, so the protected part of it. So these are the streets, this is on the website, there's a QR code. We compared this with our existing citywide bike and ped plan to see what overlaps there were. We're looking at, it's like First Street and Greenfield are the two that are class 3 bikeways. And so we're going to do the greenback sharrows just like we did on 4th Street a couple of years ago. We're also going to do those no parking zones I was talking about, which is the AB 413. And then do all high visibility crosswalks, so ladder crosswalks. What are those crossings? So you can find out more on the website.
And I just want to give a quick update on an active construction project that we have at East Street, where we're replacing the culvert and we'll be doing some pavement rehab. There is going to be a portion of the sidewalk that's going to be closed right at the corner of Albert Park and B Street. So there's going to be a pedestrian detour shown in green there. We have a temporary crosswalk across B Street right at Albert Park, just to provide that ADA access. We're anticipating the project to be completed sometime this fall. And if you want to get more real-time updated information on the project, you can check out the QR codes on our website. Some of the upcoming topics we plan to BPAC in the future includes update on AB 43. The canal community-based transportation plan update, and then also providing an update on the plan for the first quarter.
Great, any technical questions or clarifications from these reports?
Just the street, I believe is ready, the sidewalk's already closed.
Yeah.
No questions here. Public comment? Go for it.
With the AB 413, the daylighting, a lot of times people will use that red zone to like pull over and go inside and like get something, or use it as like temporary parking to go run in and pick up. So, yeah, it's a free parking spot. So I was wondering, and the downtown parking, bike parking is kind of lacking, like there isn't anywhere to lock your bike, so. In those red zones, can the city install bike racks to prevent cars from parking in that red area, especially in a really busy area where soul food is, but Lincoln, and you already aren't allowed to park. The intersection approaches, and if someone's going to, they're gonna want to pull over there. So can the city install bike racks where there are those red zones throughout downtown?
We'll answer all the public comments at the end. Any other public comments?
Question, is this a grant named HSIP? That is a federal one?
What's the question?
Yes. Yeah, so, and just for. Just so everyone knows, so we actually received an HIP grant on Lincoln Avenue further north. And we're about to kick off that project this year also. So we've received federal funding before on Lincoln Avenue, but I can't remember the cross street, but somewhere on the north side.
Yeah, broke down.
Yeah. That sounds right.
Yeah.
So as far as the red curves and bike racks, I think we can look at that, as part of our toolbox, probably when we're doing the SS4A. As far as on Lincoln Avenue, the idea would be a through lane. Like there's no longer parking there because there's gonna be that turn pocket. So if people are stopping, we have other problems downtown. But yeah, we can look at that part of our toolbox on the SS4A, and maybe there's other ideas where we don't have dedicated left turn pockets, but yeah. Hopefully people aren't stopping there.
Okay. Members, anything, sir?
On this report.
Yep, on this report. I will say, if I'm not anyone else, for the Lincoln and removing the parking, I think those turn signals are really important, exactly what you need with like cars trying to cross the street and car trying to dart across. Inverse resistance to parking, I think it's always important. Our 2017 parking study, which I just looked at here, that shows plenty of parking garages here. And to summarize the study, there's plenty of parking garages in downtown, and there are some that are within 1 or 2 blocks. There are 3 garages that you can hit, so that is a totally reason why. Let's have a motion receiving the presentation. Which is called staff liaison reports. Motion, all right, the second. We'll vote to approve the motion with an A vote in favor. No. All right, we'll do unanimously votes by no to receive and file the staff liaison report. Are there any commissioner reports? Go ahead.
I'd like to take a point of privilege and address an issue. So one is just an explanation of how things work. The other one is a suggestion. We have a letter that from 1.7 found in the Manhattan Bicycle Coalition regarding the connection between Swords Park and San Anselmo to San Rafael. It's a very interesting. So that's been. Is this in the minutes now? Has it been? We have to adopt it again. So I'd like to propose that this is on the future agenda. It looks like that it's in the works, but it seems to me that anything that encourages pedestrian and bicycle safety and dedicated paths, such as this or mobility paths, just at a cursory glance is worth discussing and supporting. And I think we're moving in that direction. I noticed that there's an August 19th meeting, so another one. So we have time to do that, but I'd like to address it.
This is going to go in front of San Anselmo Council for a final decision before we meet again. It goes in front of them council on September 24th. Is when they're going to do this. But I think, things we can do is we could, go ahead, you have a suggestion?
Yeah, I have a suggestion. So since we're updating our bicycle and pedestrian citywide plan, something that we could add as like a policy, for instance, is that the city supports, connections with adjacent cities through open spaces or some sort of way that we support these types of connections, because it's both in the San Anselmo and the county, since the city side is already done. So it's not a city project, but we definitely encourage these types of connections. I reached out to San Anselmo today to speak to them, like, do they need a letter of support? And of course, we want, feel free to connect over because it's faster, but they said that they don't need that type of support, but if we wanted to just create a policy that we support that kind of thing.
Okay, so even the press release talks about wanting to give the community regarding options. We don't really need to, when you're hearing at the staff level,
Well, this is coming from San Anselmo.
I understand that. So what I'm wondering is, should we send a letter of support or not? And it seems redundant, and I also I've seen you shaking your head here, so I'm interested in what machinations have been going on.
Well, Patrick Miller summed it up very well. There's no policy in place. So, this is a bigger issue. I know it seems very granular and very specific to this, but really the policy is how does San Rafael show up in projects that we have no funding or direct accountability over? And it could be this, it could be the door that we're opening up. So I do think we would tread carefully. I love the fact that April already talked to the DPW director, but to me, that conversation is going on. Community input, all of you here are welcome as residents of San Rafael or the community to weigh in. But to me, as Director Miller just said, as part of the next BPAC update is to have a conversation about it. I wouldn't feel comfortable just going ahead and doing a letter right now because we haven't had that discussion. It's a bigger policy decision.
So I think a good So I've actually, I spoke at the BPAC when this came in front of San Anselmo's BPAC, and just as a normal person. I did that. I would encourage other people to do that, encourage other people to do that too. I mean, I guess in theory, we can send something on behalf of BPAC, but I don't know that it's really appropriate for this. I think we can all just speak in favor of it. I will say my opinion of this is not particularly controversial, and I think it's going to happen. Fairly. Is that your impression?
I didn't ask that question. I didn't ask.
I can understand your interpretations, but, about not having a written policy on anything, it just seems. But I'm not sure what
It
the,
always does. It's not trepidations, it's in here in San Rafael, we are very careful about having clear policies that people can weigh in on before even minor actions are taken. It's really about that. It's more philosophy and approach, and it's serves San Rafael really, really well. I know it seems a bit stodgy, but I see it as being just really transparent and accountable. I think it's great to have it as a conversation for BPAC, then I'd be like, absolutely. But to have again, there could be, you say it's benign, you never know that I've done this long enough, there's sometimes unintended impacts that we don't know happen. So if you think the individual, 100%, and if this is something that BPAC wants to consider going forward, because it's important for all the reasons, connectivity, I know Patrick's back there chomping at the bit, I'm not gonna let you speak on it, but I'm just kidding. But I think there is real underlying approach about having connectivity, and that would be the place to talk about it, 100%.
And just to add, there's also another plan that's happening, that's not led by Public Works, but we're supporting our library and recreation department, is there's a trails inventory plan. That's in conjunction with fire that's happening, so they're gonna be looking at all the different trails, which they'll clearly look at the trail end that the city limits this, that connects to this trail. And maybe in that document, we would also consider, what does the trail do past our borders, or how do we wanna work on connectivity with our neighbors?
How do I do it? Do we receive file lists? Okay. With that, I think we'll move on to the time for public expression. So this is time for the public to comment on topics not on the agenda. When you view a comment, please keep in mind that we're not actually able to discuss items that do not appear on the agenda, but it is possible that student staff may choose to follow up with you. We could add it as a concern on another agenda. And we have 13 minutes and 3 comments. Yeah, so you have 3 minutes.
Well, my comment's very short. I live on Lincoln on the northern half, so I would like to have input with my neighbors who live on Wilson Court. All our complaints on some quick fix. Like there's a bike path, and they're all very familiar, but the bike path entrance, I take that crosswalk. Generally, one person will yield, and then the other person here will fly right in front of me and maybe give me the finger. Who knows? It's really hard to get across that crosswalk. People speed from 101 right off, and you guys are fully aware. So my neighbors, and I complain about this stuff all the time. They said they really want to have like in-person discussions about it, if that's at all possible, to outreach to like our cul-de-sac. That would be great. And I can email the traffic thing and let you guys know like my email and stuff.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
I have a report out. So I have the honor of being San Rafael's representative on the Transportation Authority of Marin. A couple things at our July 25th meeting, our GM reported out that Caltrans has put out for the Freitas roundabout, they put out a call for they put out bid applications for that, for bidding to build the project. So that's really exciting because it means that Caltrans is moving forward on it. So I will keep you posted on that. Next, I'm part of the TAM countywide transportation plan. We had 2 workshops that they're reported, scintillating, they're 2 hours long. Really what the whole thinking behind it is, how do we, as a county, what are the priorities given the scarcity of dollars and resources and a number of projects? So feel free to go onto our website, learn more about it, reach out to me. It's always one of the priorities, and the last workshop is so fascinating because it TAMs all the cities and towns plus the supervisors. the number one priority on behalf of Sarah Hill, I was representing is to reduce KSIs. And really that was a priority, and yet that was not mirrored by the other jurisdictions. So it was interesting because you have to prioritize, you have to, everybody gets to be number one, and that's really what the actions were. So that is ongoing work. At some point, maybe when it's appropriate, we have Tim come and talk about the countywide transportation plan. I think it's a little premature now, but to this group, you guys should really know this, what's going on. Patrick has been there at all the meetings. And then the last is Bellum improvements. There is a survey right now on the TAM website. You go to TAM, I just sent you the link, Micah. So if you want to weigh in on the improvements that are going on there, and it is around traffic, but it's around the mobility pedestrian bike. So go in and please add your comments. That's really key. Thank you. Thank you. I want to add on it. Transportation plan. Yeah.
One of the things in the air, which is a really great job, by the way, for the superintendent on that countywide transportation plan. Thank you. And one of the things in my read on what the last one, I think the third one. And my reading on it was, this is really important for this group, and I encourage you to try to get involved. Is that they're trying to identify the 3 or 4 top priorities to really focus on. And there was a large number of commissioners that in a completely the active transportation network didn't get in the top group. But it was in the second group, kind of a couple down. And like 6 or 7 of the commissioners said, hey, we want to see that in the top. Hopefully, and that was my take was, is it was moving into the top of the priority list, and that would really be good towards completing the crossing trail, completing North-South Greenway. And there's a lot of talk about that going around. So I encourage this group to plug in and to see what's going on. Because you're the most influential group because Santa Fe is at the heart, it's the heart right at the crossroads of Marin County. And so you guys have, I think, more projects at stake and more opportunities at hand. So there's that. And then just a question, one of you guys can respond, maybe good. We just, you know, in particular, wanted to know what the plan is for the update of the Santa Fe bike plan, bike pedestrian plan. And so we were just wondering. Maybe updates are on. Thank you.
Thank you. Next time.
Okay. Anything else to add? The meeting.
Yeah, I mean, so this.
Do you have a meeting time?
Or I just go back, so Public Works does have a work plan that's on the website, go to citysanterfell.org, go to Public Works. It has our timelines for different projects. We're hoping not too many slip. We do have 0 traffic staff right now. We're using all consultants, so about 3 people down right now on our engineering. We just, on our engineering staff, so all the projections were based on fully staffed, and so, but we're still pretty close. We're gonna try to do a Q1 update, maybe in the next meeting. And some things are looking good.
So now you please find out about.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I think with that, this meeting is adjourned at 7:52, 8 minutes. We're done.